Hej och välkomna tillbaka. Vi fortsätter programmet och nu har vi välkomnat upp här Scibase och Simon Grant som kommer hålla en presentation. Välkommen!
Tack. I'd start by saying that Scibase has a rights issue ongoing right now. The subscription period closes next Tuesday, the 26th. And if you want more information on that, go to our website, scibase.com. My name's Simon Grant. I have a long experience within medical devices, primarily within commercialization of new technologies on an international basis. And I work with, I'm CEO for Scibase. Scibase is a Stockholm-based company that has a revolutionary new way to look at skin diagnostics. And we use a unique combination of two things, EIS, which I'll explain, and then AI, or artificial intelligence. So it's EI plus AI. And there are many companies that talk about AI, but we're a company that's had a product on the market for nearly 5 years, and definitely one of the first globally to launch and get approved a product that is based on AI. Just to give you a little bit of a history, the company has been, we released our product back in 2014, and when we released the product, what we saw after a while was that the product worked, but it took a little bit too long and it was too complicated for our market. This is a high volume, dermatology is a high volume business. And so we were forced to go back and re-engineer the product and revalidate it, and that took us some time. And the result of that was a product called Nevisense 3, and I'm going to talk about that today. But that's a little bit of a background to the product and the situation of the company, and it's taken us a while, but we're in a good place, and we're really excited about where we are today. So we are a company that is in the commercial stage. We are past the commercial, the technical risk, the regulatory risk, and the clinical risk is gone in our product. We've passed there, and we are selling in Germany as our key market, where we have both reimbursement and guidelines inclusion. And a key driver for this has been this Nevisense 3 that I talk about. Yeah, that's helped us deliver our growth. And that was released in 2018, and it's just been approved in the US, and I'm going to talk about that. Helped us deliver 6 quarters of growth, some good growth in there. And our target this year, and our belief is that we will be profitable in our key market, Germany, and that's going to allow us to focus our investments on 2 other areas, which I'm going to talk about today. One of them being that we take our technology platform and we apply that to 2 new clinical areas. So what is the problem that we try to solve at Scibase? Well, today, dermatology is a relatively manual, low technology area. It's one of the last areas within last specialties to embrace technology. And it's relatively subjective, the evaluation that you get. And I think melanoma is a good example of this. The ability for clinicians to detect, to decide if something is melanoma, it varies a lot. Some clinicians are very good, but it's very clinician dependent and clinician experience dependent. And so you can see this 42 to 93%, that's the ability of clinicians to detect melanoma. We did a study last year, 600 clinicians that reproduced this as well. We see a real variability here. And to compensate for that, what happens is that clinicians are forced to overtreat, to excise or do biopsies, many biopsies, and that 9 to 40, that's the number of biopsies that it takes or excisions that it takes to find a single melanoma. And obviously that's extremely costly. There's a lot of unnecessary surgeries. So our product Nevisense, what we developed was Nevisense, and that was based on this electrical impedance spectroscopy, EIS, and AI. And what we did with that was we showed in the largest study ever done that we could improve this number to 97% for all clinicians, and at the same time reduce the number of unnecessary excisions by about 1/3. So this means that we can give immediate results, we can give better care, and we can help detect melanomas earlier and save money. So what is EIS? Electrical impedance spectroscopy. What it is we take an electrode and we look at the structure of the skin. We do a quick measurement and we send very small signals through the skin. And the way that those signals change as they pass through the skin, that tells us about the structure of the skin. So we detect those changes and we look at changes at different levels in the skin. And we build up a profile and we detect structural differences. We then take our AI, then analyzes those signals and gives an objective result, a risk score between 0 and 10, and gives that result immediately, so you don't need to send away a biopsy, for example. So that's EIS. As a company, Scibase's strategy is simple. It's a 3-step strategy. Our first piece in the strategy is Germany, and this is our key market, and we're going to continue to build in Germany. We're going to take what we learned in Germany and replicate that in the US. And I'm going to talk about that. And then the third part of the strategy is that we're going to take this technology and we're going to apply it to these 2 new clinical areas, and that's our pipeline of new products. So these are the 3 key parts of the strategy. So if we begin with Germany, these numbers are essentially the German sales. And what we see is that when we released Nevisense 3 in Germany, that was in Q3 in 2018, since then we've had pretty good and 6 consecutive quarters of growth. And we have a seasonal, you can see there's a seasonal sales effect, but overall we've had good growth. And what we've seen is that in the last year, in 2019, the number of procedures done with our product increased by 50%. And overall, we have more than 100,000 patients tested commercially with our product now. So why did Nevisense 3 make such a difference? Well, actually, it comes down to simplifying the procedure and allowing it to fit into the clinician's workflow. Many dermatologists, they see a lot of patients, up to 100 patients a day, and if we're taking too long, then it creates a problem within the clinic. So when we were able to simplify, shorten, and get rid of that variability, it allowed us to fit into the clinical workflow. We were also included in guidelines at the same time, and when we released Generation 3, it actually improved the accuracy of the product. So these were the things that Generation 3 enabled us to do. In Germany, today, we have about 240 clinics as customers. There are a lot of clinics in Germany, 2,600, so we're only at about 10%, but we focus on 800 of the most high volume or high profile clinics, and this is our target. So about 240 clinics, many of them with more than one system. And what we do in Germany, our aim in Germany is to increase both the number of clinics that are using our product, but also our business model is based on patients, is based on a consumable electrode. And there's 1 electrode per patient, and with that you can do up to 20 lesions. That sells for 35 euros. So our business model and most of our sales are from electrodes. So we're not only aiming to have more customers, but we're aiming to do more patients per clinic. That's more electrodes. And this, if we do this, we believe that we can, just within Germany, we have the potential to sell from today's level up to about 50 million in sales per year. So the second step in our strategy is the US. And the US is obviously, it's the largest market in the world for medical devices, and it's a key market for us. It's taking us a long time to get into the US through the regulatory process, and we are essentially without any competitor in the US when it comes to devices. So it's a consolidating market. What we see is that private equity is buying up these practices and putting them into groups or networks, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Reimbursement is extremely important in the US, and we've had good success with manual reimbursement so far, with most claims actually being approved. But obviously our target is to have broad reimbursement and coverage, and we're working very hard on that. As I said, these practice groups or chains are very important, and we have been successful so far with 3 of those chains. I can't see which slide is being shown. Yes. So these chains are there's about 20 of them, and there are about 40 clinics per chain, and about 800 clinics. And these are really interesting customers for Scibase. So why is that? Well, it's because they're looking for new technology, they're looking for standardization, they're looking for revenue potential from new procedures, and they're looking for differentiation, things that differentiate them against their competitors. And that's why this group of private equity-based chains is a very important group from us. And we have 3 of these groups already. And very importantly, we just signed an agreement about 10 days ago with the largest of these groups. This is a group called Advanced Dermatology and Cosmetic Surgery, and they are the largest clinic chain in the US and potentially in the world, over 150 sites. So for them, it's about early detection of melanoma. That's very important. And so we're partnering with them to help them offer this service. So they're looking at first a pilot phase of about 20 clinics to see how we can integrate it into the network, and then a commercial rollout across their whole network. They're also going to help us with some clinical trials and also with evaluation of new products. The value proposition that we use in the US is a little bit different to what we use in Europe. Europe is often about reducing unnecessary biopsies or cost. In the US, it's about giving the best possible service. Early detection of melanoma is very important. So what we try to do in the US is we help them to give better precision with their diagnosis. So if I move on to step 3 of the strategy, and that step 3 is new applications. So here we're talking about using the same technology that we've developed, the same hardware and the same business model, and applying different analyses, different AI-based analyses. And the first area for us is something called non-melanoma skin cancer. Now, there are 2 types of skin cancer. There's melanoma, which is very deadly, but it's not so common. And then you have what we call non-melanoma skin cancer. That's basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma. And non-melanoma skin cancer is about 10 to 20 times more common than melanoma. So in Sweden, for example, there are about 4,000 cases per year of melanoma, but there's more than 50,000 cases of non-melanoma skin cancer per year. So what we have done then was we've taken our technology, and based on the feedback from our customers, we've developed a new application based on the same hardware, the same electrode, and a different analysis. And and this helps us to detect non-melanoma skin cancer, avoid biopsies, and help guide treatment. So, as I say, this has been driven by off-label use in Germany. Nothing we've promoted, but our customers have been using this and saying it works. We would like to have an indication for that. And we have just recently submitted our clinical data, and we're hoping for an approval later this year, in Q3, Q4 of this year. And what we believe this is going to do, it's the same customer group, is that all of a sudden they have 2 applications on the same device. We can add software to their device that allows them to look at non-melanoma skin cancer as well as melanoma, again using the same electrode. The second area is what we call the skin barrier. So we've been working on this together with a group in Davos, Professor Actis and his team in Davos, and we're over the last 4 years. And so what is the skin barrier? Well, if you look at the two upper layers, SC and SG, that's stratum corneum and stratum granulosum, and these two cell layers, they are what we call the barrier between the body and the outside world. What does that do? Well, it stops water getting out and it stops allergens and bacteria from getting in. So this is a barrier between the body and the outside world. And we know, and it's just been recently really understood, that this barrier is of central importance for a number of atopic or allergic diseases. Diseases like eczema, atopic dermatitis, food allergies are very much dependent on the skin barrier. You get food allergies through the skin, and also asthma is a barrier-related disease. So all of these diseases are dependent on the barrier, and what we know is that we can use EIS to detect a faulty barrier. And so this is an extremely exciting area for us as a company, and it has enormous potential. So there are multiple areas of application. All of these diseases are extremely large diseases, and there's no really good way to do this today outside of the laboratory. We have a high interest from researchers, and we have started to sell last year to researchers in this application, and they're helping us to develop new clinical applications. As I said, there's really no one else doing this type of measurement outside the laboratory. So this has driven interest from industrial partners, and we see that as the first step for us, is that we would partner together with industry. There's industry partners within pharmaceuticals, cosmeceuticals and cosmetics, and even detergents that are very interested in this ability to measure the skin barrier. But the ability for the company, for Scibase to scale, is dependent on this product. What we've done over the last 3 years together with KTH in Stockholm is we've managed to miniaturize completely the entire product into a handheld pen about this size. And this is not only simpler, quicker, easier to use, it's also a lot less expensive. And we use the same electrodes and the same business model that we do with our other products. All the applications we can use this product. It has the AI models built in, so it's completely standalone. It means you can measure and get a result directly on the pen, or you can send it to a computer or a phone. So this is called Nevisense Go, and we believe that this is going to drive the next, one of the drivers for the next level of growth in the company. As I say, much quicker, easier, and lower cost, and using the same business model that we use today. We are in the final stages that will be released in the coming month or two, and then in the beginning, we're going to work with barrier for this product and with our industrial partners. But we can use eventually all products, all applications will be able to be ported to this product. So we have, it's been a long road, but we've achieved some really great milestones over the last year or two. We have, during this year, 2020, we have a number of things happening. Our goal is to be profitable in the German market, and that will allow us to focus our investments again on the US and the new applications. We have 2 new applications based on the same technology that we're going to work to release, and we have a new product, Nevisense Go, that we think is going to change the way that the product is used, and even potentially allow it to be used in the home. So it's a very busy year this year, very important year for us, and we look forward to talking to you later about those new successes. So just to wrap up, we're a company who is commercial stage. We're past this point of risk, clinical, regulatory, and technical risk. We have a running business in Germany, 100,000 tested, commercially tested patients. And that has been primarily because of Nevisense 3. And what Nevisense 3, now that we have just had it approved in the US, it's going to allow us to take that product to the US, and together with our partners, our partners like Advanced Dermatology, we're going to introduce the product there. We have had some good growth, and we have had, obviously, COVID is affecting things, COVID-19 is affecting things, but we've had a good series of growth, and we see that when the effect of COVID disappears, that we will continue on that growth. One of the things that we're focusing on is local profitability in Germany, and that allows us to focus our investments on the US and the new applications. And our technology platform, these new technologies, these new applications are looking extremely exciting, with the first ones of those coming during the second half of this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Simon. Very interesting.
Thanks.
We have a couple of questions, if I may. It's very interesting, as I said. It seems like you're focusing on really big markets, like the US and Germany. And why is that?
That's a great question.
Yeah, is other markets too small, or?
Well, I can say like this: for a product to sell well, you have to have reimbursement. You have to have some way for getting that the physician gets paid. And whether it's a small market or a large market, it's a similar amount of work. And actually, Germany has, it's the largest market in Europe, and we still have an enormous potential to expand there. So we felt that we focus on these two markets, we get reimbursement in place as we have, and in Germany, and we work on it in the US. And it's really that we're a small company and we have limited resources. And if something comes up that is opportunistic or there's good reimbursement, we will of course take advantage of that. But for now, we feel that we can, Germany and US is more than enough markets for us right now.
Yeah, I understand. And you need to have a reimbursement system.
You can get some sales without reimbursement, but if you want things to really, like to get 100,000 patients, you can't do that without reimbursement, really.
Yeah, I understand. How is the competition when it comes to, if we focus in the first phase on Germany, what kind of competition do you actually?
Well, there's one recent new competitor, but and there have been competitors in the past, but all of the competitors are working with large pieces of equipment that are that require a significant capital investment, and that's difficult for it's a different investment decision. Some of these devices are $150,000. So we feel that our business model is that we sell a device for €6,000, and then they pay per patient. They pay for the consumables. So there's low risk for them to get started, and then they only pay when they use it. And I think that's been a challenge. That's why there are there's one competitor, but they haven't done that well so far. So far we're actually pretty much on our own. And in the US, we are definitely the only approved device, point of care device for melanoma detection.
And you also have a big partner there, right?
Yes, it's a great partner as well. They're very interested in good clinical, good science, good clinical work. And what their primary concern is, how can they detect melanomas as early as possible in their patients? And they have, as I said, 150 clinics, enormous potential there.
Yeah. But still, it's not an exclusive agreement. I guess you can find many.
Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, they're going to keep us busy for some time. So
You mentioned the German market is quite big, and you said that you look for 800 roughly clinics.
We target 800 clinics.
Yeah. And how fast do you think you can grow?
It's two components to the growth. There's the number of new clinics, maybe 50 to 100 per year is what if we get, the closer we can get over, the more over 50 we can get per year, the happier we are, of course. And then if we can have another year like last year where we increased usage by 50%, I mean that will enable us to grow. So it's a combination of both the number of clinics and the usage. And then we have these other two areas, non-melanoma skin cancer, and we believe that non-melanoma skin cancer in Germany, for example, it's a relatively quick startup because we can go to the customers we already have, we install a software on the device they already have, and then they have the ability to use that functionality immediately. And it's the same patient, so they can now do more tests on the same patient, or they can see that the device is more potentially more useful for them when they're making a purchasing decision. So we think that we can grow reasonably quickly in Germany. The question mark is COVID. You know, COVID has really, it has affected us. It started affecting us in March, and we had a lot of our customers close, you know, temporarily. They're started to open now, but it's a limited number of hours per day, and the patient numbers obviously down. But we see it returning, and we think that after summer, we think it's going to come back. But you know, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, of course, it's $1 million question.
And our other big market is, of course, New York, and which is, you know, really has been hard hit. So, but again, same in New York, it's starting again, and we see, you know, summer and after summer, it's going to start again.
But for your existing clients, it's not that big investment to bring on non-melanoma. Right?
No, it's not. It's you know, it's a very small investment, and then it's again when they use the product, when they use that, they will pay for the electrode, and only then.
Yeah. So you believe that usage per instrument will go up?
Yes. Yes. And as I said, you know, this has been our customers who have been using this off-label, and you know, who have driven us, you know, have asked us to do this, and we've done. It takes time. You have to build the clinical data. You have to take it through the regulatory process. But as I said, we've submitted the clinical data now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about the US. I mean, it's a huge market, and you have some partners already.
Yeah.
How are you gonna invest in the US? Are you gonna build a team?
You know, US is a really, you know, I guess I've made many mistakes already in the US. It's a huge potential market, and there's a huge complexity in it. You should not underestimate it. So we made a decision early on that we would focus in the Northeast, the New York area, and we said, we have to show that we can make it work in that area, and then when we do that, we can convince others, and we can build the reimbursement case, and we can start growing from there. And that's exactly what's happened. But rather than working with distribution companies, we will work with these partners who are, you know, and then you're dealing with one partner who has 150 clinics around it. So it's very important that when we go in the US, that we don't build a huge sales force with all the costs that comes with that. So we're going to keep it as small as possible, and you know, we'll be support people. We're not going to build a large sales organization. We're going to work step by step, so that we have to, you know, keep the costs down, and obviously our goal is to break even as soon as we can.
Yes, of course, but then so you will focus on geographic rather than
and where our partner is. So we work in clusters. They have clusters in Florida, for example. Head offices in Florida, so we work in clusters, and we build from these regional clusters. I think the worst thing you can do, and the mistake I guess I've made before, is that you have a sale here, and you know, Nebraska, and then up in you know, and you spend your time, you know, trying to support these customers, and that's not how we're going to be as targeted as we can.
Yeah, so you have scale.
Scale. And then I think, you know, when you look medium term, it makes a lot of sense to have a distribution partner. But you know, but you need to have everything in place before you're interesting for a distribution partner. So that's still a year or two off, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see any delays or risks for your plans regarding? I mean, we have this.
Well, COVID is of course a factor, and then it's you have this new regulatory approval process that was supposed to come into force in May of this year, and that has been delayed. And there's a lot of I guess discussion and lack of really understanding as to exactly what that means. So we're being very aggressive with our you know, our approval plans for non-melanoma skin cancer and barrier, but you know, you never know what could come up from this what's called MDR process. So that's a question mark. Yeah.
Okay, time flies. Thank you very much, Simon.
Yeah.
And we will move